Hello! I think it's time I introduced you guys to the daily driver of my fleet that I haven't done any videos on yet. I actually did a poll recently on my Instagram to see which of my 4 cars people wanted to see more content on, and literally 0 people wanted to see this car. So I'm going to make a couple videos with this car. Anyway, oh, we got traffic. Anyway, this is a great car. It's got well over 300,000 miles on it, and considering that and its age, it's actually in pretty good shape. But there is one area where these things fall apart, and that's the interior plastics.
These front door pockets are one of the most notorious things to break on these 240s. It's easy to catch your foot on them when you get in and out. My driver's side one is missing entirely. The center console and cubby takes a lot of wear and abuse over the years, and mine is completely cracked all around. And lastly, my driver's side speaker is missing the grill and the bracket is about to fall off.
But luckily, there are replacements available. Door pockets, center console and cubby, sold separately, and even the speaker grills. So that's basically what this video is going to be about, just trying to replace all the broken things that I see on a daily basis to make this interior that much nicer. Let's get this thing back home and start working on it.
I figured I'd start with the speaker bracket since I'll need to take the whole door panel off. So step 1 is to take the speaker itself out, and this is still one of the originals that works fine. These speaker brackets attach to the door panel with rivets, and this is the last one that's hanging on. Since this side's door pocket is long gone, I'll show you on the other side how to remove it. First, these 3 plastic fasteners have to be twisted 90 degrees and then they pull straight out. Next, you have to release both ends straight up, so I like to give it a little bop with my fist, and then rotate the whole thing up and out to release the tab in the center. We'll see more of this when we put the new panels on, but for now let's continue taking off the door panel by removing these 2 end pieces. The door handle trim can come off with a squeeze, but it is fragile. If your car has power windows like I do, you'll have to carefully pry out the main switch and wiggle all the connectors off. These will be pretty easy to put back on because they only go a certain way. To remove the door handle, we have to surgically remove these little caps that hide the screws, which can be tricky to do without damaging anything. Volvo started using Torx in the 90s, so this handle is held on with 3 T25 screws. If you have an older 240, these will just be Phillips. Finally, you have to rotate the whole handle about 90 degrees vertically to release the 2 tabs in the upper section. Don't forget to unscrew the lock knob, and then we're ready to pop the panel off. There should be a bunch of clips around the perimeter. Most of mine are broken, but I'm pretending to pop them loose with a proper trim tool. Once all the clips are popped free, you can lift the panel vertically to get it off the rail on the door frame, feed the wiring through, and there it is. The best way to get this remaining rivet out would be to drill straight through it, but for whatever reason I decided to mangle it instead. But it doesn't really matter, I'm just getting this out of the way. The replacement speaker grill and bracket is actually a good used one I got off eBay. You can get these brand new, but the new ones don't have the original Volvo markings on them, and I wanted to keep that. Looks like this bracket has been repaired previously, but at least it's in one piece. Instead of riveting this bracket back on, I'm going to use some hardware. Just seems overall easier and less likely to break that fragile plastic. I'm using nylock nuts because I don't have to tighten them very hard for them to stay on. And with that done, we can put the door panel back on. It's just a matter of slipping the lock knob through, hooking the top of the door panel onto the door frame, clip the clips back in, and then everything else goes back on exactly how it came off. And then while I was at it, I figured I might as well do some cleaning. Remember that the door handle only goes in one way. You have to push it in and then twist to lock it into place. Finally, I could plug back in the speaker and get it reinstalled. I'm just keeping the factory speakers for now because they still work fine and I'm not that worried about it. Anyway, the finishing touch was to clip on the speaker grill and it looks great. I had a spare door handle trim piece, so I went ahead and snapped that in. It's always good to have spares. Now let's move on to the door pockets. These definitely have a few tricks. First of all, we're going to have to slide these plastic clips behind these two knobs. There's one on either end. First of all, I'm going to attempt to lubricate these a little bit with some silicone spray. You have to bring this panel in at close to 90 degrees to slide this tab in, and then you can rotate it down into position. Now comes the tricky part. Working one at a time, we have to get this plastic tab behind the knob before we can bop it into place. Finally, these three plastic fasteners go in with the line vertical, and you just twist them 90 degrees to lock into place. For the first time since I've owned this car, it has an intact door pocket. Let's do the other side. Last but not least, let's tackle this broken center console. In order to do this right, I'm going to take the seats out. There's 2 nuts in front and 2 bolts in back. You might have noticed this extra armrest and cup holder combo. This is an original Volvo accessory, but it's pretty rare. I'm just lucky a previous owner installed it. You can see how brittle and broken this old console is, so I think it's a good thing I'm replacing it. Through this hole you can see that the armrest has a whole structure that ties into the floor, so it's actually pretty strong when you lean on it. These little blank panels are available new, but I'm just going to reuse mine. This is where your seat heater switches would go if you had that option. All these parts back here will also be transferred to the new console, so I might as well start taking it apart. But first, do you really think I was going to take the seats out and not vacuum up? Okay, let's get this fancy armrest off of here. You can tell it's OEM because it uses T25 Torx. Now we can finish unclipping the various things back here. Normally, if your console's not broken, you'd have to slide it forward to get around this metal tab. Anyway, let's get this little guy out of here. Here's another look at the support bracket for that armrest. It's pretty good. And here's the old next to the new. The only thing I'm going to have to do is transfer the holes for the armrest onto the new one. I tried various methods of making a template and drilling out the holes methodically, which seemed to work out pretty well. Having done some more cleaning off camera of all of these components, I was ready to put the new console in. And at first glance, it looked like my hole drilling was spot on. Unfortunately, once bolted in place, these holes didn't line up anymore. So I did what I should have done all along, which was to mark the holes from underneath through the bracket using a scratch awl. Looks like I've got some new holes to drill. Having done that, here's a closer look at that metal tab that you have to slide this under. Well, at least nobody's gonna see this butchery once the armrest is on. Let's put back in all the small parts. This little pad was in the bottom of the old cubby, so I made sure to save it for the new one. Finally, I could put this big old armrest back on. Look at that concentration. And there we have it, a non-broken center console. Never thought I'd see the day. Let's get the seats back in and enjoy this refreshed interior.
Well, I think that's going to do it for this video. It's amazing how fixing a few broken pieces of plastic can make an old car feel that much newer again. Instead of looking around at a bunch of broken things, I now have an interior that looks complete, and it looks pretty good actually. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I got one or two more things coming with this Volvo I think will be pretty interesting. I got other cars to mess with as well. There's always something. So hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, like this video if you liked it, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Peace. You're good. Just after New Year's, I did a little poll on my Instagram page to see which of my cars people wanted to see more content on, and that's fine. And I've got a couple more things potentially coming with this Volvo, so stay tuned. I've got other cars as well. I got people biking. That's fine. I'm in public, so it's gonna happen. I'm gonna be insecure about it when people see what I'm doing, talking to myself in the middle of nowhere. But that's fine. Here comes a Tesla. Piece of shit. No, but in all seriousness, this. But anyway, this is my 92 Volvo 240. Think about subscribing because like 99% of you guys aren't subscribed, which is like kind of insulting. Not gonna lie. Am I doing something wrong? Oh, there's a guy on a one wheel. Huh. Anyway, especially when you're spending all your time in the interior and looking around at a bunch of broken things makes it feel like there's traffic. And that's never a good thing. I never notice when they're coming either. They just sneak up on me. I'm so in the zone. Okay.